The Rebel Capitalist Show.
What's going on right now with Bitcoin? Let's start there. I know you're really heavy duty in that space. So what's going on with the price? What are your views on it?
Yeah, so I started writing research reports on Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies in about 2014. So it's been about 6 years I've really been studying it really hard. It's an interesting time for Bitcoin. I kind of started with gold because of the sound money. And right now what we're seeing is massive monetary stimulus, money printing, if you want to call it that. And every time they do that, it pushes the narrative as to why we need back to a sound money system, right? So gold and Bitcoin seem to be the flavors of the day. For sure, gold, a renewed interest, but of course, Bitcoin is there. As far as what's going on with it, as far as price action goes, I say, I'm sure you would agree with me, we're looking at kind of the macro picture and trying to be where the puck is going to be, so to speak. And so, daily short-term noise, and it distracts you from what's really going on. Everybody's like focused on, well, the dollar's getting stronger, so gold and Bitcoin are going to go down. And it's like, dude, the strength of the dollar doesn't really matter. There's so many other drivers, right?
Yeah, right.
So the price had dipped, along with the stock market, everything else back in March. The stock market had to be saved with circuit breakers to keep it from going down, and it took trillions of dollars of stimulus to get it back up. Bitcoin didn't. Bitcoin recovered on its own. Every time it doesn't die makes it that much stronger.
Yeah.
So every time Bitcoin doesn't die, it bounces back, it makes it much stronger. We reclaim the important 10,000 threshold. And what we have, and it's very interesting with Bitcoin because we're watching an infinite amount of money supply being created on a schedule that we don't know, right? They create as much as they want. At the same time, we're watching Bitcoin, which has a fixed supply, a cap, 21 million cap, but it does have a set inflation schedule. So it is inflating, but on a schedule with a cap. And what's interesting is we're watching in real time the infinite increase of money, and we're watching the decrease of Bitcoin at the same time. So every 4 years, the inflation supply goes down. And so it's an interesting phenomenon that we're watching play out in real time. And I'm irrationally long, as Raoul Pal said. Recent developments, and when I say recent, last 6 months or so, have kind of shifted the whole financial system, or what the financial system can be. And so what I see is, again, being in Bitcoin and cryptocurrency for a really long time. And even if I back up, I started an e-commerce business in 2001. Mm-hmm. And I went to these brands, hey, I want to sell your products on my website. And they laughed at me. No one would ever buy anything online. That's stupid. I lived through that, right? Like, I've been here. And I heard the same thing with cryptocurrency. And I think we have a lot of these old financial people that have been analyzing the markets for a long time, and they're debating, what can the Fed do, and what about the debt and all these things. What's happened in just the last really couple of months is now with the central bank digital currencies and the acts. I mean, China already pushed it out last week to the public. For most people, it's probably not a big surprise that the Chinese, PBOC, the People's Bank of China, has been working on a digital currency for quite some time. They were the first one to really come out and announce that they were going to do it. Of course, they would be the first one to do that because they have this captured, economy, captured country where they can kind of control that. And so they've been working on this central bank digital currency. And I like that word better. It's a CBDC, better than a cryptocurrency, because it's not a crypto. Right? It's not a cryptocurrency. So it's a central bank digital currency. And they started testing it in small markets. But last week, it actually went public. And what they did was basically, how do we, kind of like in 1913 with the Federal Reserve Act, how do we get people to use these fake dollars? Let's come up with a plan. And kind of the same plan, how do we get people to use the CBDCs? Well, they said, what we'll do is we'll give away 10 million yuan. It was like $2 million, 2 million USD. So they said, we'll give away this money, and it's going to be like this lottery system, and you have to download the app, the digital bank currency wallet, and then if you get this, what was it called, red shirt or red wallet or whatever it was, if you get this special thing, then you win and you get $200 or whatever it was. But everybody had to download the wallet, right? That's how they got everybody in. So everybody has to download the wallet. You have to see if you're a winner, and then if you are, you get a couple $100. But now everybody's using it, and that was released into the wild on October 12th, I believe.
Oh, I see. So you had to actually download the app to see if you got the free money.
Yeah.
So obviously everyone's downloading. Oh, geez. Yeah. Wow.
Now in China, they already have so much surveillance with their WeChat and all the different things. They're kind of already living in that digital world, and their government controls them so much. Maybe for them it wasn't that big of a stretch, but I would imagine the U.S. is also going to need to do something pretty drastic to get people to jump into that as well.
Yeah, well, you talked about that on your video. I mean, I think it's just stimulus and more UBI or whatever you want to call it. That if you want the free $2,000 a month, then you just need to download this onto your phone. But I think that people need to understand, if you're downloading that app onto your phone, basically what you're doing is you're setting up a bank account with the central bank. So all those Chinese folks that thought that they were getting or potentially getting a free money, so they need to be a part of this lottery. When they download that from iTunes or whatever it is, they're setting up an account basically at the PBOC, in which case they would have a record of every single one of their transactions. So just imagine that the Fed had your bank statements every single month, and that goes straight to the IRS, that goes straight to the government. So that's really what's going on here, because that's how they get the money into your account, by just creating bank reserves that go right into that account. Then you can go ahead and spend it. So I just wanted to make that point, because that's I think the crucial thing to understand, is that every American would have an account actually at the Fed.
Yeah, and that's a really big thing. And you had made a video probably a year ago about the end of cash, and talking about how the central banks were trying to kind of roll power up and maybe get rid of the small banks first, and then get rid of the big commercial banks second. And you were talking about getting the end of cash and why they would want to do that. But that was like a year ago, before this whole CBDC thing popped up or anything. And really now I think that video is even more relevant today, because now they have the technology to do exactly what you were talking about, but in a much faster time. So the central bank sets up a wallet and gives money directly to the people, and bypasses all the people in between.
The commercial banks, yeah.
All the commercial banks, and they just get rid of them, and they do one-on-one. And so, we could talk about that whole thing as to what that means when you lose all that decentralization of banks, and then you have a centralized bank. But in addition, I think a lot of people don't realize that part of the thing with cash, obviously, is that it's a bearer instrument, right? I can hand it to somebody, nobody can control it or stop it, which is why they don't like that. The thing with CBDCs is that they're programmable money. And so what that means is it's actually programmable. So for example, hey, you get $1,200 in stimulus, but if you don't spend it within 7 days, the money comes back to us.
Yeah, velocity.
For example, right? Or hey, you get $1,200 a week, but if you don't spend it, then we're only going to top you back up, or whatever, right? So then they could force that velocity, like you're saying, force that spending. They can also say, hey, you're not allowed to spend that money on this, this, and this. You're only allowed to spend the money on this, this, and this. So you're only allowed to shop at Walmart and Target. You can't shop at mom and pops, for example. Things like that. Oh, you can't support political thing, whether they're right or left. You can't pay, so whatever. They can program exactly what you can do with your money. Of course, you mentioned the IRS, so they could just take taxes out right in the middle of that transaction. There's no end to the amount of control that could be put into it. Again, going back to, you asked me kind of where are we at with Bitcoin. And like I said, I've been, writing about it now for 5-6 years. And it's like one of those things that gradually, then suddenly. And, people, it's never going to happen. It's never going to happen. I like things I can hold in my hand. I like real tangible things. Digital money never work. We hear that stuff. But this is here. China launched it to the public on the 12th. What was that, 7 days ago? Like, it's here. I believe in the U.S. it's coming out probably the next 6 to 9 months. Like, it's already written into the laws. Like, it was put in the bill, into the stimulus bill. Like, it's coming. Whether you like it or not, you can choose to believe it. What do they say? You can choose to ignore reality, but you can't ignore the consequences of it. And so you can choose to believe this isn't happening, but it's happening.